Hello! What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Well, today we are studying Daf Kuf Zayin of Masechta Shabbos, Daf 107. And friends, let me tell you, boy, do we have a daf for you, friends. Daf Kuf Zayin. Alrighty. Alright, anyways, no, it's a good daf. It's rather complex, but good. Alright, let's get started. So we're going to talk about guarding trapped animals. And then we spent a long time talking about bruising shrutzim. Bruising little creepy crawly insect, bug, weasel, rodent kind of things. And talk about killing lice. Fun stuff. Let's get started. Daf Kuf Vav Amud Beis. Like pretty much at the bottom, there's a Mishnah. Let's do it. So, Yashav echad al apesach v'lo mile'ehu. Yashav hasheni u'mile'ehu. Hasheni chayv. No, friends. So if you remember, we're talking about trapping a deer on Shabbos. So let's say you have a deer and the deer goes into your house. Sounds exciting. Now, if let's say Ruvain, right? So Yashav echad al pesach v'lo mile'ehu. So if Ruvain goes and sits down next to the door of the house so that the deer can't get out, but he doesn't block the entire doorway, so the deer would still be able to get out. Yashav hasheni u'mile'ehu hasheni chayv. Now Shimon comes and he sits down next to Ruvain, and now the entire doorway is blocked and the deer can't get out. Well, then Shimon is going to be chayv because he's the one that ultimately blocked the way for the deer to be able to leave. Yashav Arishin ala Pesach umile'ehu. If Ruvain sat by the doorway and completely blocked it, Uvasheni v'yashav bitzido, and then Shimon came and sits next to Ruvain. Once Ruvain has already blocked the door, well then Afapisha Amar Arishin v'alachlo Harishin Chai v'Hasheni Pater. Now even though Ruvain now goes away, meaning remember Ruvain blocked the entire door, Shimon then went to sit next to him. So it's Ruvain who really blocked the door. So now, even if Ruvain now gets up and goes somewhere else, and now Shimon is the only one blocking the door, nonetheless, Ruvain is the one who's chayiv for trapping. Shimon is going to be pater from trapping. How come? What is it similar to? Let's say somebody pashat locks the door to his house, and then it turns out, oh, wow, it's crazy. There was actually already a deer in the house, and it was already locked in the house. So the person who locked the deer, locked a trapped deer. A deer was already trapped in there, and then he locked the door, and it turns out that there was a deer that was already trapped in there from beforehand. Well, then he didn't really do anything wrong. Here also, when Shimon comes, once Ruvain had already trapped the deer in the house, well, then he's not doing anything wrong, because he's just coming to a situation in which the deer was already trapped, and that seems to be acceptable. Even milechatchila, as we're going to see. Gemara, says the Gemara, the top of Kuf Zayin Amud Aleph, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Chia bar Ashi, Amar Rav. Nichnesa lo tzipor tachas knofav, yoshev mishamo ad shetechshach. If a bird flies under a fellow's cloak, right? So a fellow is wearing a cloak, and a bird flies right in there and gets stuck, lemaise, and it can't get out. And this guy's like, sweet, I just got a bird and I didn't even have to trap it. So we say that Yoshev Mishamru Ad Shetechshach. You can just sit there and guard it until the evening, i.e. he doesn't need to free it. Masav Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Nachman bar Yitzchak asked Akasha, quoting our Mishnah. In our Mishnah it says, Yoshev Arishin ala Pesach umilaeu. If Ruvain sat by the door to the house and filled up the doorway so that the deer cannot get out. Uvasheni v'yashav b'tzido, and then Shimon comes and he sits next to Ruvain. So af al pisha amid harishin v'halachlo harishin chai v'asheni pater. Now even though Ruvain, who had initially blocked the door, then gets up to leave, we say that Shimon is pater, even now, right? So Shimon is the only one there guarding the doorway and is essentially preventing the deer from being able to leave, but nonetheless Shimon is pater. Because Reuven is the one who blocked the doorway, the one who really trapped the animal. Now, my love, Pater Aval Aser. So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak wants to argue, of course we know that whenever it says Masechta Shabbos Pater, it means Pater Aval Aser. Meaning he won't be chayav a korban chatos, but he's not allowed to do it nonetheless, and therefore, this case should be similar to the case by Shimon going to sit down next to Reuven, who's blocking the door of the house with the deer in it. And we're saying that Shimon to remain there once Reuven has left is Pater Aval Aser. So shouldn't that be the same thing as this bird that flew underneath this fellow's cloak? And so this fellow is just guarding the bird that's already in his cloak. But that should be similar to Shimon guarding the deer that's already trapped, where we say it's Pater Aval Aser. So here also, when the bird flies underneath the cloak, it should be Pater Aval Aser, nonetheless, for this fellow to guard the fegela under the cloak. So the Gemara answers, lo, Pater Umutter. Actually, in our Mishnah, when it says that once Reuven has completely blocked the door, and Shimon sits beside him, and Reuven goes somewhere else, Shimon is allowed to remain there. Milechatchila is allowed to remain there, friends. Hachanami Mistavra, and this also makes sense, Midiktani Seifa, from the fact that it says, at the very end of our Mishnah, Lemazeh Dome, what is it similar to? Lenoel as Beisul Shomro, that somebody who just simply locks the door of his house, because, for the reason why everybody locks the door to their house, to protect the contents of their house, V'nimtza Tzvisham B'socho, and then it turns out that Lemaisa there is a deer that was already trapped in there from before, and the assumption seems to be that would be completely acceptable, completely mutter. So Mechlal de Pater Umutter, which implies that Shimon remaining by the doorway once Reuven has left would be not just Pater Aval Aser, but Pater Umutter. So here also, by this bird that flew under the cloak of this fellow would be able to just sit there next to the cloak all day, guarding his bird that trapped itself. Shema Mina. Ikadamri. To those who say, who basically have this discussion slightly different with the same outcome, but slightly different, right? Whereas we described it, whereas Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak asked a kasha against Rav, right? Rav said that if this fegela flies under the cloak of this fellow, so this fellow can watch it all day, milichatchila. So Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak asked the question, but what about our Mishnah where it says that Shimon could remain sitting there even once Reuven has left, and it'll be Pater? Doesn't that imply Pater Aval Aser? And then we say, no, it's Pater Umutter. So now, we have the same dialogue, just slightly different. Ikada Amr, those who say, Amr Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak af ana nami tanina. So those who say that Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, rather than asking a question on Rav about this bird who flies under the cloak, he's actually coming to support Rav. So comes Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak and says, oh yeah, af ana nami tanina. Lemaise, we have a Mishnah that supports your assertion. Afal pisha Amr Arishan v'halach lo Arishan chayav v'asheni pater. That our Mishnah says that even though Reuven got up and walked away, nonetheless, Reuven is going to be the one who's chayav for having initially blocked the entire doorway where the deer is inside. And Shimon is going to be Pater, and my love, Pater Umutter. And Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, Mistama, in our Mishnah, when it says Pater, it means Pater Umutter. So we see that it would be permitted to guard this fegela under the cloak. So the Gemara says, lo, Pater Aval Aser. The Gemara says, no. Actually, when the Mishnah says that Shimon is going to be Pater when he's sitting next to the door that Reuven already blocked, it means Pater Aval Aser, and therefore here also, we would say that by this bird flying under the cloak, it would be Pater Aval Aser to guard it. Hamidiktani Seifa Halamazeh Dome Linoal as Beisul Shamo V'Nimtzat Tzvisham B'Sochim V'Chad Pater Umutter. To which Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, what do you mean? From the fact that the very end of our Mishnah says that what is the case of Reuven and Shimon similar to? It's similar to somebody who locks the door to his house, and it turns out that there was already from before a deer locked in the house, and we assume that would be completely mutter. So here as well, so therefore also by Reuven and Shimon, when Reuven gets up and Shimon remains to guard the door, Shimon would be Pater, means Pater mutter. And therefore also by the bird flying underneath the cloak, for the fellow who owns the cloak to be able to just sit there guarding the bird that trapped itself all day, that would be 100% mutter. Shma mi na. Amr Shmuel, said Shmuel. Now this is a Gemara that already we had at the very beginning of Masechta Shabbos and Daf Gimel Amud Aleph, way back when, 104 pages ago. Can you imagine? What did Shmuel say? Kol p'turei de Shabbos pater aval aser. Okay, as we already know very well by now, that any time on Shabbos that it says pater, guess what it means, friends? Not guess. You all know what it means. Tell me what it means. Very good. It means pater aval aser. Livar mehani tlas. However, there are three exceptions. The pater umutter, where it's actually pater and mutter. Chada ha. So one of them, of course, is our case. When Reuven blocks the entire door, and Shimon sits down next to him, Reuven then goes somewhere else. We say that Shimon is going to be pater even though he remains guarding the door. And that's not just pater aval aser, it's pater umutter. Umimai de pater umutter. How do we know that it's pater umutter? Of course, the Katani Seifa, as the Seifa of the Mishnah says, Lemaz Edoma. What is this case similar to? Lenoel es beiso l'shomo v'nimtzat tzvishomo b'socho. That somebody who locks the door to his house, turns out that there is a deer that was already trapped in there, and we say that it's pater mutter. V'idach, what is case number 2, where we would say pater mutter? Here we go, friends. Hamapis mursa b'Shabbos. Very, very beautiful. If a person pops a blister on Shabbos, im lasos la pe chayav. So if he's doing it in order to heal the blister, to create an opening for the blister, as Rashi says, to kind of scrape it away, to mamish, fix the blister. So then you're going to be chayav. However, im lahotzi mimena lecha pater. However, if you're just making a small little puncture in the blister so that whatever pus or moisture is in there and is being very uncomfortable, is going to be relieved, right? Whatever moisture can get out, but you're not really makbid on the hole, and for all you know, it's just going to close up again on its own, and you're really not being misak in a hole. So therefore, it's not going to be bone. You're not creating something. You're not building a hole, and therefore, the only reason why it would be allowed would be midrabanan, be pater aval aser. However, because he's uncomfortable, b'makom tsa'ar, the chacham are not going to say that it's pater, and rather pater aval aser, rather than say it's pater umutter. Mimai, the pater umutter. How do we know that it's pater umutter? It's not, as we learn in the Mishnah, machat shel yad. This is a Mishnah from Daf Kuf Chav Beis Amud Beis, that if you have a needle lito ba'esakot, you are allowed to move a needle on Shabbos if it is to take a needle on Shabbos if it is to remove a splinter. That as well. You're in a makom tsa'ar, it's uncomfortable, you would be allowed to remove that splinter, and it's no problem. So here also you can remove the pus from the blister, and it is no problem. V'idach, case number 3, where we say pater umutter, friends. Hatzad nochosh b'Shabbos, somebody who traps a snake on Shabbos. Im misasek bo shlo yashchenu pater. So if the only reason why he is trapping this, I don't know how I translated it a second ago, but it means, so somebody who traps a snake on Shabbos, if he's only doing it because he's scared that the snake will bite him, and that could be lethal, so then he will be pater. Okay? Im l'refuah chayav. But if he is trapping the snake so that he can maybe use the venom epis for medicines, well, then you're going to be chayav for trapping. How do we know that when it says that if you trap this snake because you're scared of it, so then it's pater umutter? Titnan, as we learn in the Mishnah, kofen kaira al aner b'shvil shelo techos bakora, you would be allowed to overturn some kind of a vessel over a candle so that the flame will not ignite the beam that is above it. V'al shel ka'in, you can also cover the excrement of a little guy. Ve'al akrav shelo tishach, and you're also allowed to cover a scorpion so that it won't bite you. So we see that when it says pater for trapping a snake, if you're concerned that it shouldn't bite you, so then it would be pater u mutar. Those are the three cases where it's pater u mutar. Hadran alech ha'oreg. We will come back to you, perik ha'oreg. Friends, moving on. Shmona shrutzim ha'amurim ba'Torah. Very exciting stuff. There are 8 shrutzim. How do you even define sheretz? I don't know, creepy crawly things like weasels and rats, all the stuff that we love. Lizards, things like that. So there are 8 shrutzim that are listed in the Torah, right? So there's a pasuk that says, I'm going to read it. These are the things that are tameh for you from the shrutzim. Hacholed, va'achbar, va'atzav, limineu. That's already 3 of them. Va'anaka, va'koach, va'lita, va'chomet, va'tenshamis. Those are the 8 of them. Okay. So there are 8 shrutzim that are listed in the Torah. So atzadan va'chovabayin chayev. So somebody who traps any of these 8 shrutzim, or anybody who bruises them. Chovel. So yesterday we were referring to bruise as a wound, where you make somebody. Not a bruise. Yesterday we were learning chovel to be like a wound where you make somebody bleed. Here we're referring to chovel as a bruise, where blood does not actually, go through the skin, but it kind of collects together under the skin and creates a bruise. Okay. So if you bruise any of these little shrutzim, friends, so then you will be liable for to bring korban chatas. Okay. Fine. Okay, so these 8 things, hatzadan, if you trap them, v'achova bain, or if you make a bruise in them, chayiv. Weiter. Ushar shkatzim u'ramasim. All the other shkatzim and ramasim, hachovel bain, potter. Somebody who bruises them, potter. Hatzadan, and what if you trap them? Well, if it's litzorech, if you need them for whatever reason, then chayiv. Shalol litzorech, potter. If you don't need them, potter. Chayiv v'of shebirshuso. Undomesticated animals and birds that are in his property. Hatzadan potter. If you trap them, you are potter. And as Rashi says, well, because they're on your property, i.e. they're already trapped. Ve'achovel bayan chayiv. And somebody who bruises them will be chayav. Okay, friends, says the Gemara. Midiktani achovel bayan chayav michlal de'islu or. Very exciting. So, from the fact that our Mishnah says that when it comes to these 8 shrutzim, okay, that anybody who bruises them is chayav, well, that implies that they have skin, I guess, because in order to, a bruise is when blood collects under the hide, I guess, under the skin. So then that is why you will be chayav. So if we don't consider these shrutzim to have hide, well then you would not be chayav for chovel, for bruising, okay? So the assumption is that from the fact that we're saying that you are liable for bruising any of these 8 shrutzim, that must mean that they have hide. Man Tana. Now who would be the Tana who would say this? Who would be the Tana who would say that all of the 8 shrutzim have or? Amar Shmuel Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So Shmuel says, well, that would be Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Okay, how come? Titnan, as we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Omer, there's a Mishnah in Chulin, I believe. So Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, Shmona shrutzim yesh len oris. Oh, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that there are 8 shrutzim there are 8 shrutzim, of course, they're listed in the Torah, and all of them have hides. And therefore, if we're saying that if you bruise any of these 8 shrutzim on Shabbos, you're chayiv, so there must be that all 8 of the shrutzim have hides. Whose opinion is that? Shmuel says that would be Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Fine. Rabbi bar Rav Huna Amar Rab. So now Rabbi bar Rav Huna says in the name of Rab, Afilu tema Rabbanon. So he says you can even argue that it's the Rabbanon. Now, over there in Chulin, the Rabbanon argue on Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, and they say that when it comes to Tumah, who could tell me a sheretz is mitame bit che'adasha, right? Right. That a sheretz, if a dead sheretz touches something, so even if it's a lentil's worth of that dead sheretz, it's going to be mitami that thing. The question is, does that apply to its hide as well? So the Chachamim say that 4 of the 8 shrutzim, their hide is treated like their flesh, in that they are metame bicha adasha. Just like their flesh is metame bicha adasha in a lentil, so also their hides, with 4 of them, their hides will be treated like their flesh, and therefore their hides are also metame bicha adasha. I'm not sure as opposed to what. Maybe oros in general, I think might be are metame bichazayis, or maybe the assumption is that they're not metame at all. Honestly, I'm not really sure. It doesn't say it anywhere, as far as I can tell. But in any event, the Chachamim argue with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, and they say that when it comes to 4 of the 8 shrutzim, okay, their hide is metame just like their basar, i.e., they're not considered to have or. Their or is like their basar. They're not considered to have separate or. The other 4, according to the Chachamim, have separate or, have separate hides, okay? But there are 4 of them that their hide is like their flesh, in which case they aren't considered to have or. And if they're not considered to have or, well then, you should be pater for chovel on Shabbos, because chovel, in order to be chayiv, it has to be someone that has or, that has hide. So now, Shmuel said, so we see that it must be that our Mishnah is like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, right? The fact that our Mishnah is saying that all 8 shrutzim, if you bruise them, you're going to be chayiv, well that implies that all of the 8 shrutzim have hide. That is Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's opinion. However, Rav is saying, right, Rabbi Barafuna is saying in the name of Rav, that you can even say that the Chachamim can be the author of our Mishnah. That even the Chachamim would agree that if you bruise any of the 8 shrutzim on Shabbos, you would be chayiv. If you bruise any of the 8 shrutzim on Shabbos, you would be chayiv. What about the fact that the Chachamim say in Masechta Chulin that for 4 of the 8 shrutzim, their hide is like their flesh, which sounds like they don't have hide. And if they don't have hide, then how can you be chayav for bruising them on Shabbos? Friends, let's see. So afilu temer rabbanan. So Rabbi Barafuna says in the name of Rav that you can even argue that the rabbanan are the author of our Mishnah, that all 8 shrutzim, you'd be chayav for bruising them on Shabbos. Ad kan lo pligi rabbanan aled Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri el inyan tuma. The rabbis only argue with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri when it comes to tum'ah. In terms of, is the hide of a sheretz mitami b'chadasha just like its flesh is? And the Chachamim say, well, by 4 of them, yes, it's mitame just like the flesh. And that's just because the Torah has a specific gezeras hakasav, as the Torah specifically teaches us that when it comes to tum'ah, 4 of the shrutzim, their hide is going to be like their flesh. But don't confuse that with bruising them on Shabbos. Shabbos is a whole separate story. And as the pasuk says, as the pasuk says, Eile hatmeim lachem. So, right, if we look at that pasuk that I quoted earlier, it lists, right, it's actually 3 psukim. So the first pasuk quotes 3 shrutzim, right, the cholet, the achbar, and the tzav. The next pasuk then quotes another 5, and then the pasuk after that says, Eile hatmeim lachem b'chol hasheretz, etc. These are those that are tameh. So the Rabbanan learn that, what does it mean, Eile hatmeim? So Eile means these, okay? Reference to the shrutzim in the second pasuk. And then ha, the extra hey, is what it's coming to teach us, that these, right, it includes them in Tumah to say that they are even mitami b'chadash of a lentil size. I don't know why the Chacham don't say that it's all 5 of the ones listed in the second pasuk, why it's only 4 of them. I don't know the answer. But, however, what they are saying is that what the pasuk is teaching us is that specifically when it comes to Tumah, there are going to be 4 of these shrutzim that are going to be mitami b'chadasha. That's it. That's the only time when these 4 are considered different than the other 4, is to say that when it comes to Tumah, there are going to be 4 of the shrutzim that their hide is considered like their flesh, in that their hide will be mitame b'chadasha. However, if you're asking me, is it considered like they have hide? Are you asking me if on Shabbos, if you bruise any of these 8 shrutzim, will you be chayiv for bruising a sheretz that has a hide? The Chacham say, certainly. you'll be chayiv for making a bruise on any of the 8 shrutzim. Just when it comes to tumah, there's a halacha that by 4 of them, we're going to treat their hide like their flesh, in that it's metamim b'cha'adasha. But on Shabbos, you would be chayiv. Okay? So again, I'm going to read from Rabbi Bar Hafuna. So Rabbi Bar Hafuna Amarav Afilu Tema Rabbanan. You can even say that the author of our Mishnah is the Rabbanan, that they would say that you'd be chayiv for bruising all 8 shrutzim, because all 8 shrutzim have hides. Ad kan lo pligi Rabbanan ale Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri le'inyan tuma. The rabbis only argue with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri when it comes to tumah. Dichsiv, as it says in the pasuk by shrutzim, eile hatmeim lahem. That lachem, these are those that are tamei to you, the rabos, and that extra hay, and the eile coming to exclude the first 3, and I guess somehow also the next one, or the last one, whatever. But hatmeim, the extra hay is coming l'rabos to include she'orosein kivsaran, that when it comes to tuma, there are going to be 4 shrutzim that their hide is like their flesh. Aval l'inyan Shabbos, regarding Shabbos, afilu rabbanan modu, even the rabbis would admit that you would be chayiv for bruising any of these shmona shrutzim because they all have hides. Frek the Gemara. The Gemara asks, will the inyan Shabbos lo plige? 1 second. They really agree with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri when it comes to Shabbos? They really say that when it comes to Shabbos, you'd be chayiv for bruising any of the 8 shrutzim? Ve'atanya. We have a brisa, friends. Hatzad echad mishmone shrutzim ha'amurim b'Torah ve'achova b'ayin chayiv divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. So we have a brisa that says that somebody who traps any of the 8 shrutzim that are mentioned in the Torah, ve'achov b'ayin, or anybody who bruises any of the 8 shrutzim, chayiv. Now whose opinion is this, friends? Whose opinion is this? Divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's opinion. What about the Chachamim? We're talking about Shabbos. We're talking about Chovel on Shabbos. We're saying that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that you're chayav for making a bruise on any of these 8 shrutzim. What does the Chachamim say? V'Chachamim omrim, ein or ela l'ma shemanu Chachamim. Whereas the Chachamim say that we only consider the shrutzim to have hides for the 4 shrutzim that the rabbis listed. Now, this doesn't make sense, as the Gemara is about to say, because in Chulin, the rabbis list 4 shrutzim that their hide is considered like their flesh, right? So meaning the 4 that the rabbis listed are really the 4 that that would be considered to not have hides, right? And this brisa is saying, the Chacham say, ein or ella, the only shrutzim that have hides are the 4 that the rabbis listed. No, the 4 that the rabbis listed are the ones that don't have hides, that their hides is like their flesh, right? So the Gemara says, Adarabba. No, it should be the opposite. Or the 4 shrutzim that the rabbis listed in Masechta Chulin, that their hides are like their flesh, those are the ones that don't have hides. Okay? V'amar Abaye, and Abaye says, bear with me for another minute. V'amar Abaye, and Abaye says, Hachi ka'amar, this is what is going on in that brisa. Ein or chaluk mi basar ela lema shelo manu chachamim. Very good. So Abaye explains the brisa like this. Okay? That Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that if you make a chabala, if you bruise any of the shmona shrutzim, you're going to be chayiv for bruising on Shabbos, because all of the 8 shrutzim are considered to have hide. Now comes the Chachamim, as explained by Abaye, to say that's not true, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. The only shrutzim that are considered to have hides are the ones that the Chachamim did not count. Remember, the Chachamim counted 4 shrutzim where their hide is like their flesh, implying that they don't have hides, and therefore what the Chachamim are saying are that the only shrutzim that are considered to have hides are the ones that are not listed in Chulin as their hides being like their flesh. So what do we see? That apparently the Chachamim do in fact argue with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri when it comes to bruising on Shabbos, and they say that that there are only 4 shrutzim that are considered to have hides. And those shrutzim, if you bruise them on Shabbos, you'll be chayav for bruising. But the other ones you won't. So it's a kasha on Rav, right? Of course. Because Rav Bar Huna said in the name of Rav that the author of our Mishnah that says that you're chayav for bruising any of the 8 shrutzim, right? Rav is saying that the author of our Mishnah could even be the Chachamim. Yet, apparently we have this brayso in which Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that if you would be chayav for bruising any of the 8 shrutzim, the Chachamim say, no, there's only 4 shrutzim that are considered to have hides and that you'd be chayav for bruising on Shabbos. So what do we do, friends? What do we do? What do we do? Amalei Rava. However, Rava asks a kasha on Abaye. He says, Abaye, I have a problem with your mahalach. Because what did Abaye say? Remember, the brayso said that the Chachamim said, Ein or ela l'mashemanu Chachamim. Now the Chachamim said in the brayso that there's only hides for the 4 shrutzim that the Chachamim listed. Now that doesn't make sense because the Chacham listed the ones that the hides are like the basar. So those are the ones, the 4 that are listed would dafka be the ones that don't have hides. So Abaye said, no, what they mean to say are the ones that have hides are the ones that weren't listed by the Rabbanan. The problem is, Rava says, but the brayso says, is talking about the ones that were listed by the Chachamim. Abaye is explaining the brayso as saying that the ones that have hides are the ones that were not listed by the Chachamim. The problem is that Rava says the brayso is not talking about the shrutzim that were not listed by the Chachamim. The brayso clearly says that it's talking about the ones that were listed by the Chachamim. And those would be the ones that don't have hides. So, Ella Amar Rava, rather, right, so again, so Amarle Rava, so Rava says, Tabai, Halamashemanu Chachamim Ka'amar. But the brayso is Dafka talking about, Dafka says, the shrutzim that were listed by the Chachamim in Chulin, i.e. the ones that they said that their hides are like their flesh. Ela Amar Rava, rather Rava says, Hachi Ka'amar, this is what the brayso is saying. Listen up, friends. Listen up. Remember, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri clearly said in the brayso that if you bruise any of the 8 shrutzim on Shabbos, you will be chayav. The Rabbanan responded, and we don't know exactly what they responded. According to Rava, this is what they responded. They responded to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, and they said, we agree with you. We agree with you that when it comes to Shabbos, if you bruise any of the 8 shrutzim, you're going to be chayav. Where we disagree with you is when it comes to Tumah. Because when it comes to Tumah, the only ones that are going to be Metame B'cha'adasha are the ones that the rabbis listed as their skin being like their flesh. Meaning, the implication being, that Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri would say that, and the Gemara is going to ask this question in a second, but the implication being that according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, when it comes to Tumah, all of the shrutzim, the shear for Tumah would be the size of a lentil, b'cha'adasha, that their hide would just be like their flesh, and the Tumah would be b'cha'adasha. And the Rabbanan are responding to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and saying, that is where we disagree with you. Rather, there are only 4 of the shrutzim that their hide would be like their flesh and be mitami b'chadasha. No, friends, let's see it inside. Right, so Ela Amar Rava Hachi Kamar. This is what the Rabbanan are saying to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri. That we agree with you 100% when it comes to Shabbos, that all 8 shrutzim, you would be chayav for bruising them. However, when it comes to Tumah, we disagree with you. Ein or mitame kibasar, ela l'mashamanu chachamim. That the hide is only mitame like the flesh, in that it's mitame by the size of a lentil, only for those 4 shrutzim that the chachamim listed in Chulin. Michla, which of course implies to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, hanachnami d'lo manu chachamim mitamim. That implies that according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, all 8 of the shrutzim, even the ones that the chacham didn't list in Chulin, all 8 of the shrutzim would be mitame their hide just like their flesh, the size of a lentil, to which the Rabbanan are responding, no, only the 4 that the Chachamim listed in Chulin are mitame, their hide like their flesh when it's the size of a lentil. But 1 second, really? Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says that all 8 shrutzim, their hide is mitame like their flesh, the size of a lentil? V'hakatani Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, but Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri taught, right? V'hakatani, but we taught, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says, Omer shmona shrutzim yesh len oris v'lo mitame. There are 8 shrutzim that all of them have hides and they're not mitame, the size of a lentil. I don't know if that means that they're not mitame at all. I'm not really sure. But they're definitely not mitame the size of a lentil. So therefore, Rava's explanation doesn't really work, right? So for Rava to say that the Rabbanan are responding to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and saying that while we agree with you 100% regarding Shabbos, we disagree with you regarding Tumah because the Chachamim are only mitame the hide like the flesh for those 4, implying that according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, all 8 of them would be mitame their hide like their flesh. Well, when the Chachamim are responding and saying that, right, that only the 4 that the Chachamim mentioned in Chulin, those are the 4 that are matame their hides like their flesh, bicha adasha, implying that according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, all 8 of them would be matame their hides like their flesh, bicha adasha. But we know that that's not true, because according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, all 8 of them have hide, and it's not considered like its flesh regarding Tumah. So Ela Amr of Ada bar Masna, rather, says of Ada bar Masna, Tritz Hachi. Rather, explain the Chachamim in the following way. The Chachamim Omrim, Le'inyan Tuma ein or Le'mashamanu Chachamim. So says Rav Ada bar Masna, very similar to Rava, in that the Chachamim are saying to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, we agree with you when it comes to Shabbos. When it comes to Shabbos, we agree with you that all of the 8 shrutzim, if you bruise them, you're going to be chayav because they're considered to have hide. However, we do want to point out, say the Chachamim, that when it comes to Tumah, the 4 shrutzim that the Chacham listed over there in Chulin, their hides will be metame just like their flesh, bicha adasha. That's it. The Chacham say, look, we agree with you when it comes to Shabbos, that all 8 shrutzim are metame if you bruise, are mechayiv if you bruise them. The only place we disagree with you is when it comes to Tumah. There are going to be 4 shrutzim that their hides are metame like their flesh, the size of a lentil. But the Gemara asks, 1 second. So we're saying right now, essentially we want to say right now, that our Mishnah can also be the Chachamim. That the Chachamim and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri are on the same page. That when it comes to Shabbos, if you bruise any of the 8 shrutzim, you will be chayav a korban chatas. So don't do it, friends. Don't bruise weasels. Really, is that so? That the Chachamim and Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri do not argue when it comes to bruising shrutzim on Shabbos? Ve'atanya. But we learn in the Brisa. Hatzad echad mishmona shrutzim amurim b'Torah. A fellow who traps any of the 8 shrutzim from the Torah, ve'achov el bayin, chayav. Or if you bruise any of these 8 shrutzim, you're going to be chayav, a korban chatas. But when is this? B'shrutzim sheish len oris. That is only with shrutzim that have oris, that have hides, implying, of course, that there are other shrutzim that don't have hides, and that you would be patur for bruising them on Shabbos. Now the Gemara says what sounds to me like a parenthetical kind of thing. Ve'ezui chabur she'enu chozeres. What would be considered, or maybe it's not parenthetical, whatever it is. What's considered a chabura? What's considered a bruise? That the reason why you'd be chayav is because the assumption is, at least for animals, I don't know, I can't confirm this, but I have no reason to doubt it. I guess when it comes to animals, once you bruise the animal, the bruise kind of stays there. Okay? So, so what is a bruise that does not go away once it's bruised? So, nitzar adam afapi shelo yatsa. So if the blood sort of gathers in one area of the animal because you hit it or whatever it is, so then it, even though it hasn't left the body, i.e. it's not bleeding, but that would be a chabura. Fine. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Omer says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, Shmona shrutzim yesh lahen oris. That all 8 of the shrutzim have oris, have hides, and therefore you'd be chayev for bruising them on Shabbos. So here we have a brisa where there seems to be a machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and the Chachamim, and the Chachamim are clearly saying that you're only chayev for bruising b'shrutzim sheish lahem oris, for shrutzim that have hides, implying that there are shrutzim that don't have hides, and that you'd be pater for bruising them on Shabbos. So therefore, it would seem that we do have to say that our Mishnah that says all 8 shrutzim you'd be chayiv for bruising them on Shabbos is Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and not the Chacham. It's a kasha on Rav. Rav Ashi, comes Rav Ashi and he says, Man Tanakama, who's the Tanakama? Who's the one in this brisa who says that you're only chayiv for the shrutzim that have hides? Guess what? Not the Chachamim. Rabbi Yehuda, the Azar Basar Gishta. The Tanakama in that brisa is not the Chachamim, it's Rabbi Yehuda, who he bases, when it comes to shrutzim, he bases his treating of their hides based on shrutzim that have like a real thick hide, right? So even something like I believe like a lizard, he would say, is considered to have like a thicker hide, and it would be, and you would be chayev for making a chabura on Shabbos. Right, so basically the point is Rabbi Yehuda goes based on the thickness of the hide, right? Whereas the Chachamim don't necessarily look at each individual sherets and say, well, how thick is your hide? And we're going to consider whether you have a hide or not. No. They basically, there's just like Zeres HaKasav that says, Eile Hatmeim, and they say, look, the pasuk is saying that when it comes to Tumah, there are certain shratzim that their hide is going to be like their flesh, and they'll be mitame like a lentil. However, regarding Shabbos, as far as the Chacham are concerned, all the shratzim are considered to have hides. Rabbi Yehuda, however, he looks at each one of the shratzim and he says, well, it depends. If it has a thick hide, well, then it's considered to have a hide. If it doesn't have a thick hide, well, then it's not considered to have a hide. Right? It's not, as we learn in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, says Rabbi Yehuda, halita'a kechulda. Yeah, there you go. A lizard is like a weasel, i.e., that has a thick hide, and you're going to be chayiv. However, the Chachamim said that lita'a would be one of the ones that are mitayim b'chadasha, and it's considered like it doesn't have a hide. So we see that according to the Rabbanan, it's not based on how thick their hide is. It's based on when it comes to Tumah, there's a Gezeres HaKasav that says that the Anaka, the Koach, the Lita, and the Chomet, their hides are not considered separate from their flesh regarding Tumah. But if you're saying, does it have a hide? Will you be chayiv for a chabur on Shabbos? The answer is you'll be chayiv for all 8 of them. Okay. Only Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. Avar Rabbanan, the pliga alei Rabbi Yochanan le'inyan Tumah. But the rabbis, when they argue with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, that's only regarding the Tumah, that there are 4 of these shratzim, that their hides are not considered separate from their flesh regarding Tumah. However, le'inyan Shabbos, module, they agree with Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri that for all 8 of them, you will be chayev for bruising. If that's the case, hi, divrei Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, divrei Rabbi Yochanan umachlukaso mibayle. But one second. In this brisa that we just quoted, there was a Tanakama who said that you're chayev for bruising shratzim only for the ones that have hides, but not for the ones that don't. And then we say that according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, you'd be chayev for bruising all 8 of them. But why is it just Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri? It should be Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and all of the Chachamim. Right? Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, umachlukaso, and his band of rabbis. So, Tni, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, umachlukaso. No problem. So just read the brisa that way, if that makes you happy. That the Tanakama, who we're saying is Rabbi Yehuda, says that you'd only be chayiv for bruising these shratzim for the ones that have thick skins. It says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and all of his friends that actually for all 8 of the shrutzim, you will be chayiv for bruising them. Well, friends, I think we're basically done with the hard part over there regarding bruising and shrutzim, but we do have to continue to learn this daf. So Levi asked the kasha from Rebbe, which is cool. It's fun when you see that little overlap between the early Amoraim and the late Tanaim, right? Levi was contemporary of Shmuel, early Amora, I guess, first generation Amora, I guess, and he's communicating with Rebbe, who was the last generation of Tanaim. How do you know that a chabura, that when we're talking about bruising, it's something that does not, go away, it remains forever? The Chsiv, as the Pasuk says in Yirmiyah, ha-yaifoch kushi oro v'namer chabar burosav. So the Pasuk in Yirmiyah says that a Kushite person who has dark skin, will he really be able to change his dark skin to light skin? V'namer chabar burosav, and a leopard that has spotted skin or colorful skin, will he be able to remove those? So the Gemara wants to know, my chabar burosav, what are these spots? If it simply means just regular old spots on the leopard, well, then the pasuk didn't have to say the leopard and its spots. It could have just said the leopard and its different colors that it has on it. Rather, the reason why the pasuk says v'namer chabar burosav, that a leopard, it's chabar buros, is to teach us about chaburas, that we're comparing the hide, the skin of this Kushite person to the skin of the namer. Just like the Kushite person is not able to change the color of his skin, also the leopard is unable to, so also the chabar burot on the leopard is something that will never go away. Also a chabura is something, a bruise is something that will never go away. Usha'ar shrutzim chulei. Oh, very fancy. So then the Mishnah said that, and all other shrutzim and ramasim, all other little creepy crawler, funny little things, so then you're not allowed to, you'd be patur for bruising them. If you bruise a creepy crawler, funny little thing, so then you will be patur for bruising them. Hahorgan chayev, says the Gemara, but that implies, but if you kill these little buggers, nonetheless, you will be chayev. Man Tana, who is the Tana, says that you will be chayev for killing these little guys? Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah, says Rabbi Yirmiyah, Rabbi Eliezer. So Rabbi Eliezer says, don't kill the little guys. The Tanya, as we learn in the Brisa, Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Hahori kina b'Shabbos, kahori gamul b'Shabbos. Somebody who kills a louse on Shabbos, it's like he killed a camel, meaning it's considered netilas neshama, it's considered killing and it's a problem. Maskef lo Rav Yosef. Now Rav Yosef asks a kasha on this assumption, right? We're assuming that it's only Rabbi Eliezer who says that you would not be allowed to kill shkatzim urimasim, implying that according to the Rabbanan, you would be allowed to kill shkatzim urimasim. But Rav Yosef has a problem with that, whereas he argues, Ad kan lo pligei Rabbanan ala de Rabbi Eliezer ela bekina de ena pare v'rave. So Rav Yosef says that the rabbis only argue with Rabbi Eliezer regarding lice. That's it. Specifically when it comes to lice, the Rabbanan say that you'd be patur for killing a louse, whereas Rabbi Eliezer says you'd be chayav. How come? Because according to the Rabbanan, you're only chayav for killing something that reproduces, using like eggs and things like that. However, lice, of course, as Rashi pointed out in Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph, they are born from human skin. They are born from human skin or human flesh. Mi bisar adam misharetzes. Lice just emerge from human flesh, and because they don't, have regular reproduction, so therefore you would be patur for killing lice. Okay. Where am I again? Aval shar shkatzim uramasim, but all other shkatzim uramasim other than lice, defarin v'ravin, that they reproduce using like normal kind of reproduction, lo plige. So the Rabbanan would not argue with Rabbi Eliezer, and they would agree that you would be chayav for killing all other shkatzim or masim. It's only lice that are the exception. Ushneim lo limdu ela me'elim. And both Rabbi Eliezer and the Chachamim learn out their positions from the red rams that they would use their hides for the Mishkan, and they would of course have to kill the rams in order to get their hides. So Rabbi Eliezer savar ke'elim. So Rabbi Eliezer learns that we compare these shkatzim or masim to rams. Ma'elim sheish bo netilas neshama, av kol sheish bo netilas neshama. Just like these rams were alive, and when you kill the ram, you kill it, you remove its neshama. So therefore that applies to anything, even lice. They might grow from your flesh, but they nonetheless have a neshama. Rabbanan savar ke'elim, whereas the rabbis say that we compare netilas neshama and these lice and insect thingies to rams. Ma'elim is parin v'ravin, I've called the par v'rava. Right? Just like elim, they reproduce, I guess, by normal male and female reproduction. So therefore, in order to be chayiv, it has to be something that has regular reproduction, as opposed to lice that they just kind of emerge from human flesh. That's why you're patur from killing a louse. Abai says, 1 second, lice don't just like reproduce normally. But 1 second, we said Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that the Eibishter sits v'zon mikarnei re'emim vad beitzei kinim, and he gives sustenance from the rams of wild oxen all the way down to the eggs of lice. So that wouldn't that sound that there is like male and female and eggs and stuff like that when it comes to lice? So minahu demikre beitzei kinim. So Rav Yosef says no. Lice emerge from human flesh. There is a different creation called beitzei kinim, but lice don't have eggs. They just come out from human flesh. Ve'atanya tafuye uveitzei kinim, but we have another right. So we have another place where it talks about these tafuye things as well as beitzei kinim. Minahu demikre beitzei kinim. Again, it's just referring to some kind of species called beitzei kinim, but kinim don't have eggs. Vari parosh. Okay, fine. Vari parosh, the par v'rave. But 1 second. What about fleas? Fleas, they reproduce, I guess, with male and female fleas. Vitanya, we learn in the Brisa at Sod Parosh that when it comes to trapping a flea, b'Shabbos, Rabbi Eliezer mechayiv, Rabbi Yeshua poter. Rabbi Eliezer says that you're chayiv for trapping a flea, whereas Rabbi Yeshua says that you are patur for trapping a flea. And fleas are things that are they reproduce normally. So Rav Yosef is trying to argue that according to the Chachamim, anything that reproduces, that is poreh v'rava, anything that reproduces normally, so you would be chayiv for killing it on Shabbos. Yet Rabbi Yeshua seems to be saying that you are patur for trapping a flea. So Rav Ashi tzeda ariga karamis. So Rav Ashi says, excuse me, we're talking about killing and you're talking about trapping. Those are two different things. Adkan lo pligi Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua el demar savar davar she'en b'mino nitzot chayiv ma'savar patur. Right? Says Rav Ashi that Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua are only arguing regarding trapping. That one of them holds that, so Rabbi Eliezer holds that something that isn't normally trapped, right? You don't normally trap fleas. So, right, you normally trap other animals that you're interested in trapping and maybe eating, but fleas not necessarily. So Rabbi Eliezer says, nonetheless, you'll be chayiv. U'masavar pater. Whereas Rabbi Yeshua says, no, nonetheless, you are pater. So Rabbi Eliezer says, even though you don't normally trap fleas, you would nonetheless be chayiv, and Rabbi Yeshua is saying that you would be pater. But Rabbi Yeshua would still agree that in terms of killing fleas, you would be chayiv because they are pareh v'rava, just like the Chacham and like just like Rav Yosef wants to explain. Okay, so the Mishnah had said atzadan litzorech chayiv v'chulei, that somebody who traps these shkatzim or masim, if you need them, so then you will be chayiv for trapping. If you do not need them, then you will be pater for trapping. Mantana, who is the Tana who says that you would be pater for trapping, meaning if you need them, so then you would be chayiv, but if you don't need them, then you'll be pater. So who is this Tana? Amar Yehuda Amar Rav, Reb Shimoni. So Yehuda says the name of Rav, that it's Reb Shimon. The Amar Melacha Shein Tzricha Legufa Pater Alea. Okay. that Reb Shimon, of course, we know, says Malacha she'eina tzricha l'gufa, you're patur. So therefore, if you have these shrutzim or remasim, and you're just trapping them, so you're trapping them, but you don't have a need for them, so then, so if you're trapping, you don't have a need for them, so it's a malacha, you're doing a malacha, but it's eina tzricha l'gufa, so therefore, you're going to be patur. Fine? Very exciting stuff. To those who teach Rav Yehuda Amarav on the following, Hamapis Mursa b'Shabbos, somebody who pops epis, a blister on Shabbos. Okay, well, having a nice showing today, blister popping. So so as we said earlier, that if it is to, like mamish, be misakein a pet, to create an opening that shouldn't close anymore, and to heal this blister, so then you're chayiv for misakein, for bona, I think. I think that that's what Rashi said, Lemaisa Dartin, chayiv mishum bona. Yeah. O mishum misakein kli. Whatever it is, if you're looking to make a permanent change to this blister, so then you are going to be chayiv. Potter. But if it's just to make a small puncture so that the moisture can get out because you're uncomfortable, you don't care if it closes again or whatever. So, so therefore, you would be Potter man Tana, who says this, Amar Yehuda Amarav, Reb Shimoni, the Amar Malacha she'eina tzricha l'gufa. Potter, so it's a Malacha she'eina tzricha l'gufa, because, you're not doing this Malacha because you necessarily want to be doing, you don't necessarily want to be making holes and blisters, you are just uncomfortable, therefore you're not interested in building a hole, you're interested in not being uncomfortable, so it's a Malacha she'eina tzricha l'gufa. You don't need the hole, you just want to have less discomfort, so therefore it would be, pater, and the Chachamim would say in a place of, that really goes more similar to what we were saying before, is that it would be pater umutter in this case, because the Chacham wouldn't make their gezerah of saying it's aser since you are uncomfortable. Fine. Pater le fine. Ibika demasni la aha. To those who explain this statement of Rav Yehuda Amarav on the following, Hatzar nachash b'Shabbos, somebody who traps a snake on Shabbos, if he was only trapping it so that he shouldn't get bit, so then he's pater im l'refuah chayv. But if it was for healing, then because he wants to get the venom maybe of the snake, it's chayv. Man Tana, who is the Tana that says that you would be pater if it's just so that you shouldn't get bit. Amar Yehuda Amarav, Rabbi Shimoni, the Amar Malacha she'eina tzricha l'gufa pater aleh. It's Rabbi Shimon who says Malacha she'eina tzricha l'gufa is pater. Fine. Again, you're not interested in trapping for trapping's sake. You just don't want to get bit. Let's go weiter, friends. Amar Shmuel, Hashole dogman ayom. So somebody who pulls a fish out of the sea, meaning, so as Rashi points out, you had already trapped it from before Shabbos. So you weren't trapping it on Shabbos. You were just pulling it out of the sea and putting it on dry land. Now, what happens with a fish, when you take it out of the water, it can't breathe and it dies. In case you didn't know that. So, Kevin Shiyavish Bo Kesela Chayv. So once already there is a dry patch on the fish's skin or whatever, so once that there's a dry patch the size of a coin, so then you'll be chayiv, because at that point the fish is dead or is going to die and will not come back to life. Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Oven uvein snapirav, says Rabbi Yossi bar Oven that white coin needs to be by its fins. Amar Rav Ashi said Rav Ashi lo tema yavish mamish elafilu da Oved rirei. Very exciting. Says Rav Ashi, it doesn't actually have to be mamish, like bone dry. Even if just like it becomes slimy. Once it becomes slimy, the size of a sella, that if you touch it and like some slime will come up, so then you will be considered as if you killed it by then. Amar Mar Bar Hamidori. Amar Shmuel says Mar Bar Hamidori in the name of Shmuel. Hoshid Yadu Lemei Behema Vidildel Uber Me'el Chayev. Very exciting, friends. So if a guy on Shabbos was bored, it's a long Shabbos, and he got bored in the afternoon, so what he did was he stuck his hands into a pregnant animal, and he kind of like dislocated the, is it called an embryo? Whatever that little baby thing is, not baby, whatever the little baby inside the animal, so he kind of dislocated it from where it was supposed to be connected to. It doesn't sound very nice. Chayev. Well, you gotta bring a korban chatas. Maybe you could bring that little guy as the korban chatas. Or maybe the mother. maybe that's a good idea. Maybe he'll dislocate the little baby, and then he'll slaughter the mother as a korban chatas. My time, how come he has to be in korban chatas? Amar Rava bar Maduri, Amar Rava, says Rava bar Maduri Asberli. Then Bar Maduri explained it to me. Lav Amar Rav Sheshes, because after all, didn't Rav Sheshes say, Hayman detalish kshusa mehizme vehege? Somebody who dislocates hops from shrubs and thorns. Alright. I don't know if these hops are like hops that they use for beer. I don't know, maybe. But apparently these things just kind of grow like in between like thorns and shrubs and stuff like that, but they're not actually attached to the ground. And we say Michayev mishum oker davar megidulo, that unless you're chayev for dislocating something from where it grows, even though it's not mamish growing in the ground. So here also, even though this baby isn't growing from the ground, it's growing inside its mother, but you're dislocating it from where it grows. So achanayim Michayev mishum oker davar megidulo. Here also be chayiv for dislocating something from where it grows. Amar Abaye, Ayman de talash pitro me ona de chatzba. Says Abaye, somebody who dislocates a mushroom, a fungus that is growing on the handle of a water pitcher. Mechayiv mishum oker davar megidulo. It's also going to be chayiv for separating something from where it grows. Masav Avoshaya sakasha, but atolish me otzitz nakuv chayiv v'shenu nakuv potter. We know that somebody who we learned that somebody who uproots a plant from a plant pot that has a hole in it is going to be chayiv because it's kilu, we dislocated it from the ground. But she'enu nakuv doesn't have any holes in the pot, so you're going to be potter. But over there, even though it's not connected to the ground, we're saying that if you dislocate it, if you uproot it, you are going to be potter. So why should you be chayiv when you because after all, it's not connected to the ground, so you're potter. So over here, why should you be chayiv for dislocating, let's say, a fetus from a mother? So hasam lav ainu revise, ach ainu revise. The difference is that the normal place for plants to grow is not in a pot; it's in the ground. Here, it's normal for a baby to grow inside of a mother. Woo, friends, huh? I'm impressed with you guys. That was some stuff, right? Wow. Woo. I don't even know how long that took. I suspect it took a while. All right, just to do an overview for anybody who's still here and anyone who's interested. So we'll do kind of a quick overview. So at the beginning we talked about guarding a trapped animal. Remember that? Way back when, at the beginning of the daf, we talked about guarding a trapped animal. And we said that as long as you didn't do the trapping, let's say Reuven did the trapping, then Shimon just sits next to him, or if like the bird just kind of flies under a cloak, so then you're going to be, you can just guard it. It's totally mutter to guard it for the rest of the day. Shmuel then went on to explain it that even though in general we say pater aval aser on Shabbos, there are 3 examples where it's pater umutter. One of them is this case where Reuven blocked the door and then Shimon just sat next to him and then Reuven left. Shimon can continue to block the door. Talking about opening up a blister is pater umutter because you're not creating like a real lasting Pesach. You're just, removing some, making a tiny little hole so that the pus can get out, which would really only be asur midrabanan, but because it's uncomfortable, the Chacham didn't say it's asur. Then we talk about trapping a snake. If it is because you're concerned that it can damage you, can hurt you, it's pater umutter. Next, we started getting to that whole sugya of bruising shrutzim on Shabbos. It was pretty complicated. But anyways, at the end of the day, we said that both according to Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri and according to the Chacham, you'll be chayiv for bruising any of the 8 shrutzim because they're considered to have hides. Rabbi Yehuda disagreed, and he said that only those with hides, with thick hides, you will be chayiv for bruising. Then we talked about killing lice. Rabbi Eliezer said that you're chayiv. The Chacham said you're potter. Rabbi Yosef wanted to explain that they both learned it out from the elim, from the rams, and that whereas Rabbi Eliezer says that when you kill the rams for their hides, well, anything with netilas neshama you're going to be chayiv for, even if it's a louse. According to the Chachamim, Rabbi Yosef explains that they say, well, it has to be something that reproduces normally, and lice don't reproduce normally, therefore you're going to be potter for killing them. Alright, yeah, those were like the big, more complicated sugyas. And then at the end we talked about, killing like a fish once it's on dry land. Once it's already going to die, you're going to be chayiv. We also talked about like dislocating a fetus from a mother on Shabbos is going to be chayiv, even though it's not from the ground per se, so it's not like tlisha from the ground, but you would nonetheless be chayiv for dislocating. Friends, have an awesome, awesome day. Peace.